Barry, Steven.
I want to tell you a little tale about my TV watching habits. Clearly, I'm obsessed with television. I'll give any show a shot, really. No questions asked. You might think that makes me open and a super understanding person, right? Nope.
Wrong.
While I will watch anything, I do have one rule. If the pilot episode of a show doesn't grab me, like hook me in hard, I stop. And I think that's fair, right? The pilot episode is meant to set up the premise of a show, introduce you to the characters and the setting, and grab you with the conflict. If the pilot can't grab you and make you excited to watch more, why bother? I hate when people go, no, just get through the first 3 seasons of a show and then it gets good. Like, nope.
You're an idiot.
An example of a show that had an amazing pilot was Californication, believe it or not. It had one of the most remarkable first episodes I can remember in recent memory, with a twist at the end that had me begging for more. I did end up watching the entire show. It was pretty awful, but how could I not give a show a shot where the main character's name is Hank Moody?
Motherfucker. You finished?
Lost is another example of a show that had me completely locked in from episode 1. See what I did there? Get it? Locked? Wasn't that somebody's name?
What the hell is his name?
So where does Barry fit into this conversation? I guess the better question is, how hooked did Barry's pilot have me? I actually remember the exact moment I knew I was going to continue to watch. And here's the best part. It's like 20 seconds into the episode. That first scene where Barry is in the hotel room with the dead guy in the bed. It's super serious. You feel the weight of what's going on. Barry walks into frame, unscrews his silencer, and then leaves. And then it cuts. The very first jump in the entire series to Barry, sleeping in the middle seat of a flight with his mouth open, snoring. When I first saw this, I chuckled. It had me completely hooked, like 30 seconds in. I knew in that moment, I was like, yep, I'm seeing this show through to the end. This moment also seems to be the perfect encapsulation of the show's tone and humor. Barry loves to put dark, serious scenes up against goofy, hilarious ones, commonly with no dialogue at all.
Don't fuck with me, buddy. It's not polite.
No overly forced quip. Just a scene that lets you take in what's happening. And that's just one of the things about Barry that makes it so incredible. Barry has some of the best character development in modern TV in only 4 seasons. There are shows that run for double that, each episode running an hour long, that can't get the level of development for a single character that Barry gets for 5. The amount of foreshadowing, paralleling, callbacks, and symbolism in Barry could fill a video on its own. I'm gonna pause here before we get too deep and call out major spoilers. Barry is a really special show, and I encourage you to watch it if you haven't. I'm gonna go into deep detail about events throughout the entire show's run, but most importantly, Barry's development throughout. And for that reason, we'll definitely be talking about specific story arc points and the end of the show. I would hate to ruin anything for anyone coming to the show because it's an incredible ride. Go watch it now. It honestly probably won't take you more than a couple days if you really get hooked like I would.
I thought you were a dog.
I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to jump into Barry's personality, background, character analysis, and personality. Barry is really different from most of the other main characters on shows you'll see, but I want to talk first about some of the things on the show that make it special. Barry does something that most TV shows don't dare do, blending multiple genres on a single show. Most shows pick one or maybe two different genres, but Barry, depending on the season, can feel like almost every genre. I laugh that Alec Berg and Bill Hader were in the writer's room talking about the tone of the show they wanted, and Bill said, "Fuck it, let's do them all."
You're crazy, man.
And it's not untrue. Barry is a serious crime thriller. It's a comedy with black humor. It feels like an action movie. It's got super goofy slapstick elements, subplots that just kinda end for no reason, even well-delivered horror vibes. Barry navigates the fine line between tragedy and comedy that creates a unique narrative that keeps you and I uneasy, but really delivers some of the funniest moments I can remember.
He's fucking my wife. You get rid of him. All of this goes away.
What?
The show starts much lighter and more focused as a crime thriller, and as each season progresses, it gets more intense and serious, while still embracing the black humor that made it what it is. Listen, we really want to root for Barry. We do see him kill people, and that's bad. Yet we still see the innocence and good person inside, and hope that he can become happy being an actor. Then the show moves forward. Barry kills his old army buddy, and Janice. Then season 2, we see Barry kill a room full of mobsters instead of taking the high road and embracing change. Then season 3, Barry screams at Sally while he pins her up against a wall and he kidnaps Jean. Then season 4, okay, I think you get it. Our opinion of Barry as a character seems to go through a development arc on his own. Between Sally, showing Barry what a normal life looks like, Jean acting like the father figure that Barry needs, juggling two worlds, one where he pursues his passion, which, let's be clear, he's never gonna be that great at.
Take your hands out of your pocket. Don't slouch. You're stuck. Barry, I need you to surrender. No. Stay in place. Don't move. Take your hands out of your pocket.
You shitting me?
In the other world, where he has to continue to hide his past. We see glimpses of a normal, nice guy in Barry, but by the end of the show, we see a man in complete disillusionment who only looks for empty justification to fuel his actions. Barry will never be happy. He even has a son and wife, but it's not enough. Look at the early season, where Barry fantasizes about what his life will be like if he gets with Sally. And look when he actually gets it. Barry starts as a hitman exploring his love of acting and transforms into something completely different. And it isn't just Barry that gets an insane character arc. Sally, NoHo Hank, Jean, Fuchs, all these characters go through trials, tribulations, and a big transformation by the end of the show. Bill Hader and Alec Berg put character development first in Barry, and it shows. Another prominent strength of Barry is how it manages to subvert audience expectations to avoid every single cliche possible. Why Bill and Alec wanted to do this so often is anyone's guess. I don't necessarily think of it as a weakness, per se, but they made it virtually impossible to predict what anybody would do in any situation. And the show does this all the time. There are so many examples of this happening. You don't believe me? When Barry has lots of fantasy fake flash forwards throughout the show, so when we see one in season 4, we think it's another fantasy, except this time it's real. Or the season 2 finale, Barry tells Jean's son you can change who you are, which like 5 seconds later Barry immediately reneges and goes on a killing spree. Or in the series finale, when Barry gears up to get his son back from Hank, only for everybody to be dead before he gets there. Or in season 2, when Janice's partner catches Barry, only to blackmail him into killing his ex. Or when Barry's old war buddy in season 3 catches Barry in the act of burying a body and causes him to have a breakdown, only to use the starting now line and let him off the hook. Or when the family of the husband who was killed during the pilot, how they spend multiple episodes building up their revenge plot only to have it resolve off camera. Alright, you get it. Bill and Alec loved writing themselves into a corner with these twists and turns, only to miraculously stick the landing every time. It's just another way Barry stands out from the pack, Barry's cinematography, at least in my humble opinion, is one of the best things about the show. Barry deliberately uses contrasting lighting and color palettes to enhance moods and atmospheres, wide shots that inspire awe, long takes that are given room to breathe, surprisingly scary horror elements that make your skin crawl, like this scene right here. When I first saw this scene, I literally blurted out loud, "I never do that. I never." Barry also has action sequences that are more intense and put blockbusters to shame. The Ron Lilly episode in Season 2 and the car chase episode in Season 3 have some of the best action out of a TV show. No filler music, no unnecessary cutting, just intense, well-paced, gripping action. Barry is short. Like really short. The show lasted 4 seasons, each of those seasons running 8 episodes. Most of those episodes clock in between 26 and 35 minutes. For argument's sake, let's just say that each episode ran for 30 minutes. That would bring the show's runtime under 1,000 minutes total. Just to compare, the first season of the show Lost had about 1,050 minutes of runtime. Season 1. And while some might call this a weakness of Barry, I unequivocally call it a strength. A shorter runtime allows for better pacing and a better sustaining of creative energy in the writing the show's known for. There is no filler on this show. No wasted plot lines. Everything leads back to what the show is trying to do.
Everything has to do with everything.
Now that I've highlighted just a fraction of the things that make Barry amazing, let's focus on the titular character and finally ask the question, who is Barry Berkman, and why might he be the greatest TV character ever? Barry was born in 1978, putting him in his early 40s during the show's run before the season 4 time jump. When Barry was 7, he met Fuchs, who became like a father figure to him. We don't get a lot of information about Barry's family life or him growing up. We do know that he joined the Marines and was deployed to Afghanistan, where he showcased incredible marksmanship upon killing an enemy. Later in his tour, during an ambush, one of Barry's friends was shot, and Barry, in a fit of rage, murdered an innocent man in the village. Barry was then dishonorably discharged and sent home alone and depressed, which Fuchs exploited to turn him into a hitman. And that's really it for the background. Frankly, I like that's all we get, because honestly that's all we really need to know. Barry doesn't have any family ties, was manipulated by Fuchs, and now uses his skills for hire. At the start of the show, we see a lonely, purposeless Barry. Fuchs exploits the depression by approaching Barry about a huge job in LA from the dangerous Chechen mob. The mob leader Goran hires Barry to kill a man who slept with his wife, and while tailing this man and following him through his day-to-day through the streets of LA, Barry stumbles upon an acting studio and sees a scene being acted out on stage. Barry almost falls in love at first sight with what he sees. It's like lightning struck him. Barry finally knows his purpose, at least for now.
What is my purpose?
To be an actor, Barry.
Oh my god.
So a funny thing that I found, you can take like any halfway funny clip from Barry, like any clip at all, and cut it off with that Barry title drop music, and it's perfection. Watch.
I'm really proud of you.
Thanks.
Can I take a shit in your house?
Or how about this?
You cut these pants in size medium?
Those are women's pants.
Shit.
Let's tackle the anti-hero question. Is Barry an anti-hero? I think it's clear that Barry is some sort of psychopath. Maybe a sociopath, whatever term you want to deem him. From very early on, he's clearly unhinged and not mentally well. we see Barry completely out of his mind in season 3 and 4, but I think this has always been the case for him the whole show. Early seasons are a little bit lighter, and I think we're still holding out hope that Barry can change, but we still get early warning signals that he doesn't know how to interact normally or display any type of normal emotion. Barry is emotionally stunted, yes, but I also think he's completely out of touch with reality. We don't ever see him conveying emotion in a normal way, unless something truly awful has happened, something he usually caused. Actually, there is one emotion that Barry is amazing at displaying because he shows it all the time. Rewatching the show again, I forgot how often Barry just goes flat out berserk.
You fuck! We are not saying the same thing! Fucking piece of fucking shit! Fuck!
Bill Hader is excellent at portraying anger, and that's a good thing because he's always doing it.
Are you okay?
And this is more proof that fury and anger are at the core of who Barry is. His anger and blindness to reality cause him to fall deeper into chaos. I think that Bill Hader really wanted to humanize Barry early in the show, so those anti-hero characteristics are a little bit easier to swallow. But let me be clear, Barry is not only an anti-hero, he is a true villain. Let's classify Barry into one of the 12 established character archetypes. Looking at this list of 12, it's usually pretty clear what category somebody falls into. But I think it's near impossible to classify Barry into one of these 12 categories. I don't know if this is ineptitude on my part or masterclass character development by Bill Hader. If I had to pick, I'm torn between two: the lover and the everyman. The everyman is a typical unremarkable person without any significant skills that gets thrown into circumstances they are not prepared for, all the while being relatable. I think for the most part, this description sticks, although we do see Barry have insane marksmanship skill. He does also show flashes of brilliant acting when he's channeling his dark traumatic past, so he's not completely an everyman. I also think he falls into the lover archetype, naive, passionate, and down to earth, even though his motivations and desires change like a leaf in the wind. I'm going to classify Barry as both the everyman and the lover.
Going on. Tea is getting cold. Hope you guys like iced tea.
Let's first talk about Barry's IQ, or intelligence quotient. Where do we think it lands in relation to the general population or the other characters we ranked? We're going to have to make some general inferences first. Barry, first and foremost, does not appear to be educated. We don't know much about his upbringing or school background. And we can assume he probably didn't go to college since he joined the Marines. This isn't saying Marines aren't smart. In fact, quite the opposite. Marines are well-disciplined, top-of-the-class talent. But let's think about Barry's raw intelligence, his verbal fluency, his logical reasoning, his pattern recognition. Barry doesn't seem to be gifted, except in the visual spatial field. From what we see on screen, I don't think Barry is dumb at all.
Is it goose now?
Yeah.
Did you guys trick me?
Oh, you trick me like that again and I'll kill you.
But it's hard to pinpoint exactly how much smarter than average, if at all, he is. So, with this being said, Barry will get 100 IQ, which is the 50th percentile of intelligence. The second topic we'll discuss when analyzing Barry's personality is his emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions, as well as effectively perceive and respond to the emotions of others. The emotional quotient inventory is one of the most widely used assessments that effectively rates individuals on 5 subscales of emotional intelligence, seen here. It would appear that Barry has a substantially below average emotional intelligence seen from the show. I think that he might be average in some areas, but truly awful in others. And if we were to be forced to give an overall percentile score that would sum up his entire emotional intelligence, I'd probably place him at around the 15th percentile, meaning about 85% of individuals have higher emotional intelligence than Barry. As I've said before, we're arriving at these numbers based on inferences and educated guesses based on the show's evidence. But there's no real way to know if this is right. This is all speculative and fun.
Is this fun for you?
Let's now break down Barry's intelligence into the 9 different subgroups. Barry demonstrates a reasonable level of spatial intelligence, especially when it comes to maneuvering through different locations and performing tasks that require some sort of spatial awareness. I don't think his expertise in this area is exceptional, and there are instances where he faces challenges navigating complex, high-pressure situations. But I think as a hitman, Barry operates in various urban-suburban settings very well, and is able to utilize his spatial intelligence to execute missions effectively. Grading most characters on their naturalist intelligence is difficult. Most shows don't focus on how their stars are standing outside, understanding patterns in nature, and mastering natural phenomena. And I think Barry's no exception to this rule. Barry was a Marine, so we have to assume that he has some inclination of training and understanding of the outdoors. But he's anything but a zoologist or herbalist. Musical intelligence seems to be another intelligence type that characters are either demonstrating having or not, sometimes very randomly, like Peacemaker in the touching piano scene in his show. Can you imagine giving John Cena higher than like a 2 before this scene?
I haven't seen her in like 10 years.
I think you might be my real dad.
What?
And I think Barry is the same way, without a piano scene. He has no musical skill, and there's not a second of the show that portrays any inclination of musical talent. Barry being logical, or knowing how to apply concepts of things like math and science to situations, isn't the most prominent aspect of his character. The show more focuses on his development and emotional journey throughout Barry, not how he can use book smarts and logic to outsmart and outwit. I think this one might come as a little bit of a surprise. Barry, at least in my opinion, is very gifted existentially.
What? No way.
So let me explain. We know Barry's a killer and a psychopath who becomes more unhinged as the show goes on. But the fact that he's contemplative, looking for purpose, depressed when he has no path, and is constantly asking questions like, am I a good person? Indicates that he's continuously debating his role in life.
Am I like an evil person?
Oh my god. I mean, absolutely. Do I not tell you that enough?
Let me be clear. Barry is incorrect about most of the things he says and does. He's also delusional as all hell. But if we're going to focus solely on how he thinks about the big picture, he always is. I wouldn't consider Barry shy. He likes to interact and be social. He does feel like a bit of a hermit earlier in the show, and of course he's awkward. But I think he's pretty good at fostering meaningful relationships with multiple people, and at times, truly connecting with others. Barry appears to have above average physical abilities. He discusses and is shown killing people, so it's pretty clear that he can physically take over and control a situation. We see him choke someone to death and kill people like it's nothing. I don't think he's at Elizabeth levels of combat, but I think he's better than most. There is one clip I want to analyze though. Let's just measure what we just saw and slow it down a bit. He kills 3 people with 3 quick shots from a handgun, all in about a third of a second. That is like godlike John Wick levels of skill. And the fact that he can kill someone from like a mile away, we have to infer that his bodily kinesthetic intelligence is more than just a bit above average. Barry has a solid command of the English language, so there is that. But he shows us no indication that he's at a scholarly level. As an aspiring actor, he does have to be able to convey emotions and play characters, which insinuates he needs to be gifted linguistically. And with the exception of a few standout moments, I don't think Barry is a very good actor.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
And can even have lots of issues communicating. This one is interesting. Intrapersonal intelligence is summarized as understanding your emotions, actions, and thinking about yourself and your purpose. If we were to define this type of intelligence as just self-reflection and recognizing inner conflicts, I think Barry is very gifted here. As season 4 progresses, and he continues down the rabbit hole of delusion, he certainly loses his way. But I think Barry is constantly stopping, thinking, trying to understand his purpose, what is right and wrong. Even though he's always wrong, he's at least trying. Let's now hypothesize what personality type Barry might fall into for the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Remember, there are a total of 16 groups based on various personality traits. Barry falls into the INFP category, known as the mediator. Mediators are self-exploring, warm people who try to find their purpose and better the world. They are often artists, psychologists, writers, or social workers. Mediators are loyal, sensitive, and value close relationships, but can be overly sensitive and idealistic at their core. Last, but certainly not least, let's dive into Barry's NEO-PIR, or 5-factor model rating, a basis on which psychologists view an individual's personality on 5 broad trait dimensions, seen before you. First up, openness to experience. Openness to experience is the concept of being more receptive to new ideas, concepts, and feelings as compared to others. Barry doesn't appear to be a very understanding, flexible person. He's a closed-off Marine turned hitman who appears to be uncomfortable displaying emotion. He's less interested in creative endeavors, which is kind of ironic since he's supposed to love acting. But as the show goes on, it's not as much about him loving acting. When we think of Barry, we don't see him as a flexible, experimental guy, traveling to new places, embracing life. We think of Barry looking for purpose and sticking to what he knows, and that's about it. Conscientiousness refers to traits related to self-discipline, organization, responsibility, and goal-oriented behavior. When we analyze this personality trait through the lens of Barry being a killer, I think he's great. He completes his missions, kills his target, and usually leaves no evidence. But he also displays an impulsivity and lack of carefulness, which can lead to disaster. Barry struggles with delaying gratification and being able to not react emotionally in situations, instead of planning and doing things the right way. As mentioned earlier, we've already classified Barry as an introvert, which would suggest he'd be under the 50th percentile here. So where does he fall on this spectrum? I think Barry is probably really close to that 50th percentile. While being an introvert and favoring isolation, Barry does show a lot of signs of being an extrovert. He signs up for an acting class, first of all, where he'd be exclusively engaging in social activities. That, and he appears to be willing to participate in group activities and be around others. I think we label Barry as a shy introvert, and yeah, awkward. but I think he does just fine coming out of his shell. Agreeableness refers to the extent to which an individual is cooperative, compassionate, and considerate of others. I think rating Barry's agreeableness might be kind of hard, because I can see both sides of the coin. On one hand, Barry tries to mend relationships and seek positive outcomes for himself and others. Look at Kusuno. Yes, Barry killed his girlfriend, kidnapped him, started this whole mess. But Barry does try to exonerate him and help him out getting his career back on track. Again, Barry is in full delusion mode, but Barry is trying to be good and do good in his eyes. Yes, I know that's ironic because he kills people and he barely shows remorse. And besides the murder, really, Barry is a confrontational, blunt, angry man. I think at the end of the day, Barry is really only looking out for himself. Neuroticism refers to the tendency to experience negative emotions, such as anxiety, depression, anger. Here's another tough one for Barry. We see a lot of evidence of Barry being neurotic, being sad, depressed, angry, mood swings in front of our eyes. Let's play the other side of the coin again. While Barry's character is prone to experience a lot of these emotions, there are instances when he shows resilience and coping strategies. But I think if we're looking at season 3 and 4, which is mostly what I'm going to base this decision off of, that will not be the case. Barry is a pretty neurotic mess. So that just about wraps up part 1. We still have a good amount of ground to cover when talking about Barry Berkman. I know in previous videos, I mentioned all of my future work was going to be a single video, but I think Barry is a special case to me, just like House. I love this show. Barry is such a multi-dimensional, complex character that I think he's earned more than just a single video to discuss him as a whole. In the next part, we're going to tackle 5 main areas: his motivations, relationships, conflicts, character arc, and of course, the metrics to see if he's the best. I'm excited to bring you the next part and keep moving forward with new fun characters. Thank you again. I'll see everybody soon.